up to having my second baby. My eldest was 3.5, and we had this collision of stressful circumstances. That's probably the best way to describe it. We had someone who got us in a situation financially that was a lot of pressure and really horrible, and I was getting calls from lawyers and banks, a lot of pressure. We moved from Torquay back to Melbourne. We had all this stuff going on at once, and basically this collision of pressure, this collision of stress was bearing down. I mean, I was heavily pregnant, and you know, it was just too much. You know, it was a lot. And then I somehow decided, once I delivered this baby, that I was just going to pretend that everything was okay, and I'm just going to put all that behind me and just focus on my family and loving them and taking care of them. But I think realistically, when you've buried a lot of stuff that's going on, you know, it has to come out. My son didn't sleep. He was waking up every 10 minutes to hour and a half. This was my second baby. I knew how to do this, so I just kept trying to power through. So I would get up in the morning with my 3-year-old and be as present as I could for her as a mum, and then I was trying to cope with him, and it just spiraled and escalated and consolidated. And I knew in the hospital, I just knew something was different, but I thought, oh, it'll resolve. He's only 2 years old. Yeah, I just knew he wasn't settling properly, and the only time he would sleep is if they would take him out of the room, and I just thought, oh, something's not right. So I think I tried to just problem solve. Got on the internet, you know, you try to problem solve, and I think I now understand that when you start to get under this much stress, when you live on adrenaline because you're not actually having any restorative sleep, your mind goes into self-protection mode, and you actually go into problem-solving mode. That's one of the side effects of the anxiety and the cortisol, and so I was constantly trying to problem solve, and it wasn't working. So I kind of just shut myself into this little cocoon and bubble. I had, you know, all my shopping got delivered to home, and I stopped driving. I was too tired. I couldn't drive safely. So
you did find out that that's not life. It's not how it should be.
It was horrific, and it got very, very dark. And I share this just to help other women. I remember sitting on the front porch of that little house and just looking down the street and thinking, if I just walk away now, they'll all be better off.
Wow.
But my mind was so broken. I actually believed that the people I live for would be better off without me, because I was so broken. So I basically went 5 months without more than 2 hours of sleep. In the midst of it, everyone's like, you've got a new baby, you've got a 3-year-old.
It's normal.
It's normal. I very much now, if a mum says to me, I'm really tired, I'm not getting much sleep, the question I ask her is, how many times were you up last night? And how long has that been going on? Be specific, because you're in such a fog. I felt like I lived in the twilight zone.
Wow.
There was no day or night. It was just this bizarre, foggy space where it was about eating and sleeping and giving food to my family, and really on top of that, you really do struggle with your mental health, with anger, outbursts of anger. I have a beautiful 3.5-year-old who deserved better, you know, and that would break my heart because, you know, I was just snappy and jumpy and all the time. So that's kind of where we were at.
Wow. So you had a wake-up call, and then you realised, I need to do something.
Well, we went to visit family, and that was when he was 5 months old. And I realised that our temporary situation of living, which should have been the first 6 weeks of after baby, had become permanent. You know, my husband was sleeping on the floor of my daughter's bedroom. I was sleeping in the master with baby, and this had just gone on so much longer, and I'd lost track of time. So I started to ring sleep schools because I thought I've got to get some help from outside. Doctors aren't helping, you know, advice isn't helping family. No one's got the answers here. So I called around to sleep schools and ended up booking back into the mother-baby unit at Mitcham Private, which was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Such a supportive environment. And just a week before I went there, I had a girlfriend who was thinking of me and praying for me, and she sent me a message about her child's silent reflux.
Wow.
And I googled the support page for silent reflux and suddenly went, oh, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, amazing. Like, it was just to the letter what Zachy had. So we went off to sleep school. I also implemented a whole lot of health remedies for him. And the sleep school were great because their whole mantra was, we're just going to reconnect you with your child. And they get you to see a psychologist so that you understand what's happening in your brain. And that was probably the biggest part of the journey, is realising that. And I did a lot more reading after that as well about the brain and what it does under stress and pressure. And basically your brain changes how it works. You interpret the whole world as a threat. You're constantly thinking everyone and anyone and what they're doing is threatening you and your family. But it actually extends to the baby sometimes, which is where the stress obviously gets really toxic. So, and the part of the brain that shrinks here, apparently the hippocampus at the front, when that shrinks, you lose the ability to see novelty.
Wow.
And I do remember in the midst of it, even coming through the healing process and getting well, when, you know, he started to sleep and I started to sleep and the family's recovering, I honestly wondered if I would ever laugh again. Just be able to just laugh, to be lighthearted, to see something, laughter and see something as funny and just laugh. And I do remember just saying to, I found a great therapist I spent time with, and I said to her one day, I feel like I've been buried alive. I feel like I can see the world, but I can't engage with it. I'm not myself. I can't laugh, I can't relax, I can't enjoy life. Now I realise that's a physiological change in your brain. And then once you heal and recover, which is great, that probably was a 2-year journey, I think, realistically. Once you heal and recover, that part of your brain starts to function again, and you can laugh and you do see novelty and get joy and hope, and you engage with people and you feel again. That's probably the biggest thing, is you're not numb anymore, you start to engage. And I read recently that exercise and working out actually creates the cells that fuel this part of your brain that needs to heal. So the hippocampi, the immature cells, they develop when you train in the gym. I had no idea. So that's a really lovely side as you're healing to get, get going again. So that was the journey, and then it was just a really gradual process of recovering as a family, putting all the big solid rocks back in place for our family, just the routine, peace, rest, and
and talking to people, asking for help. There's nothing wrong asking for help. No, that's so true. So you agree, knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Absolutely, like educating yourself, but finding professionals who are really adept at what they're doing. You need to get people who know what they're doing. I've found a woman who has been a therapist for more than 30 years. She's solid, she knows what she's doing. She was able to walk me through, but her method of therapy, it wasn't just talking about myself. It was her educating me about the healing process. It was her educating me about, right, this is what's happening and this is where we need to get to and this is how we learn to do that. So, getting the right people in your corner, doctors, people that will support you, and just realising that your brain will feel threatened by everyone initially. You won't trust people. But what I used to do was tell myself, how would a person who's not feeling this way act? And I would do those things. And it sounds silly, but I had to trick my brain to make the right choices. So getting around people, even though I don't want to be around people, getting around positive people and all that sort of thing.
Very important,
Absolutely. So
thanks so much for being so brave, because I'm sure a lot of women will watch this and will feel like, someone I can relate to, she understands. And if you haven't decided, that's it, I'm gonna try to figure out, you know, or start to heal what's going on in my life, you know, you would never sit there and giving someone else hope. But tell us, how's your life today? How are you doing?
It's amazing. Like, it's so different, and I always look back at that time and then I look at now and just think, wow, this is incredible. Like, the journey is just amazing. And in the midst of that stress and that darkness, as we know, good things can come of it. In that desperation and the financial pressure, I've discovered skills of creativity, and I've got a business now that's growing and thriving, and you know, I'm restoring furniture, and I love the process. And
it's beautiful. I saw some there.
Thank you. Look, it's just amazing. It's not something I knew I had in me, but under that pressure, it was like, right, I've got 2 children at home. What am I going to do? How am I going to fix this situation? And also, it's a great outlet. But what amazes me is the customers I'm meeting. The amount of women I'm working with who are starting again after devastation. And I'm taking old, broken, unwanted stuff and then able to just strip it back and restore it and give it beauty and a new life.
And helping women as well, the same thing.
And it's the same story. Yep, and it's the same story, and I do that with my customers. You know, just pour out all the hope and encouragement I can for them, and say, I know, you know, a lot of them are just starting again. They're right in that really awful place of just, will my life ever be happy again? Will I laugh again? Will I have joy? Because they're so stressed. And I suppose it's the moment I get to come in and say, it will, you'll be okay. Like, every time you look at this table, just realise you'll be okay. There's hope.
Oh, thank you so much for being such an inspiration. No, really, we really appreciate you being with us and sharing your journey with us. So thank you, to be a light for someone.
Thanks, Jess.